darkness, my old friend.
It sucks.
Just a reminder, spoilers ahead.
Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of That Price, in which we watch a new release and we discuss together if that was worth that price. I am your host Alex and I am joined by a Lilith.
Hello.
A Becky.
Hello.
And a Holly.
Hola.
So energetic for today's discussion, aren't we? It's going to be great. Today we are discussing 2020's Rebecca.
The terrace is for guests only.
Monsieur, the young lady will be joining me.
Rebecca follows the tale of a young common woman who I'm not actually sure had a first name. She falls in love and quickly marries a wealthy widower called Maxime de Winter. As they return to his estate, it becomes clear that the shadow of his first wife, Rebecca, still weighs heavily on everyone's hearts. Yeah, Rebecca 2020, the Alfred Hitchcock remake. How did we all take to this?
I didn't.
I don't understand, like, remakes are always the best thing to do. It takes the original idea and makes it better, right? Because they have a second chance.
Yeah, I can count the number of good remakes on one hand, I think. Maybe two fingers. As in like The Thing and The Fly.
I feel like that's going to lead into a different conversation.
No, I'm fully going to steer myself down the path of just discussing remakes and the nature of them. It's the only way I can get through this.
Holly, what did you reckon?
I don't know. Well, I do know, but I'm disappointed in myself, essentially, because I really am a bit bored of seeing Lily James in every film that's ever been made. Pretty much since War and Peace came out, she's been plastered on every film. And I'm kind of bored of seeing her. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, you know what? This looks pretty decent. Like, maybe it's not going to be the worst remake of Alfred Hitchcock. And I hate myself, essentially, for believing in film anymore.
I hate you two for making me watch it, but anyway. Rebecca, what did you think of Rebecca?
Oh no, please don't call me Rebecca, because I want to change my name by default after watching this, to be honest. Made me ashamed of my name. So yeah, as you can tell, I wasn't a big fan. I had a lot of expectations, I think, for this, especially with the production company it was made by Working Title, and they've made great films in the past, like Atom and The Darkest Hour, and even comedy classics like Shaun of the Dead and stuff. You know, I expected something fantastic, and I think it was the biggest disappointment of a film I've seen all year. I think I would have rather have watched Who Be Halloween again.
In your life.
Oh, hey.
Why? Why?
That didn't even enter my brain, but that feels like a bridge too far.
Is it? Is it though? Yeah, it is. It really is. I was so disappointed.
I will say I was immediately bored by this film. Like, I got bored in record time.
Yeah.
like as soon as the first scene had finished, I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered. It just had that feel of like, oh, it's not worth it. Like, and I know it's not. Like, I know that sounds disingenuous and a bit unfair, but I feel like sometimes it is kind of fair to say that you had a rather instantaneous realization that a film is not going to be for you, and you're not going to take to it, and you're not engaged in it, in what it's doing. And this was just one of those films. Like, I felt so disconnected from it and so tired of it. I actually stopped it halfway through last night and watched the rest of it today when I got back from work, with a large glass of red wine. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to watch the rest of this, I'm going to drink a little bit as well, because this is not my film.
I'm slightly surprised by some of your reactions, but I feel like I might be the odd one out because I'm more okay with this film. I would go as far as going, it was fine for certain elements. I do definitely agree with you. This was not my type of film, and I was bored. But I found myself just at work today thinking about certain bits, and something that I will give it, it's hard, I don't want to say credit, but the slightest okay for it, was in a way its script. It covered enough of the bases that it needed to cover, in the sense of it mainly in the second half, and the setting up of the obsession with Rebecca, the trick of making Max seeming like he was deeply in love with her when in really there was something else. I wouldn't say I was tricked, but I was a bit like, oh, by it, because there was a couple of red herrings in it with I forgot her name, but the housemaid. There was some inklings from her not, being very cruel and mysterious about things, and I was like, what's her motive and stuff like that. So I would say it just hit the line fine enough of events happening to keep me in it, but I definitely don't think I'll be watching this ever again, and probably will stop thinking about it as soon as we finish this.
Yeah. See, the half I watched kind of got deleted from my brain in work today. I'm not gonna lie. I got home and I was like, oh, yeah, I've got 40 minutes left to watch. Dang.
What always sets me off on a bad note with films as well is narration. And in this film especially, it's just so cliche. I think arguably you can use narration correct in some films, yes. But in this film especially was just so bland, and it just didn't add anything, and I just think it's such a lazy way of storytelling. It's just like, okay, we're just going to set you up, and here's how we're going to do it, with a narration of someone from a few years ago that gives you a bit of mystery, and it's just so bland. And as soon as it came on, I was like, I'm done, I'm over it already. It's
basically this basically felt like Broad Strokes, the movie.
Yeah.
Like everything was spelled out to you in broad strokes from the very get-go. Like when she's trying to get on the terrace, and then the waiter guy's like, "Oh, I don't think so. Like you're the staff." Like the film's going, she's an outsider. She's not one of these people. And you're like, thank you. And then the really ham-fisted dream sequences, and then she's like walking through vines and getting wrapped up in it, and it's like, oh, she feels like she's entrenched in the situation and trapped because she's got vines on her. I was just like, thank you, film. Brilliant.
Just to touch back on the actual narration, somewhat by the end of it, because I forgot like the narration was a thing, and then when it happened at the end, I remembered at the beginning, it was like, she's like trying to say that there's been a transformation, and she had done, kind of. But the end scene where the narration again, it was making me, she was drinking first thing in the morning and now smoking, and was like, it just made me go, oh, are you meant to be like, ooh, dangerous and bad now because you drink first thing and have a cigarette, you harlot. Like, what was this transformation?
The impact that Rebecca has on her is just humongous.
But this morning I woke up and left the dead behind.
But the last scene just seemed really out of place. She's now a alcoholic.
That last scene, I think, actually made me just really angry with that last ever line that was narrated. And it was like, oh, the one thing worth walking through flames for is... And I was like, don't say it. And she was like, love. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Again, it was like, thanks, film. I understand.
But I found the pacing of this kind of horrendous. Like, and I get the aspect of they quickly fall in love and quickly marry, and that adds to the whole of why did he marry her? Is he hiding something type element? But that was quick. It really angered me. There was a line in it, like, yeah, from a girl who didn't have a name, new wife, saying, why wouldn't he have told me this? And I just verbally went, it's been a week. You've been why would he have told you? Like that's insane. And it's just like stuff like that. I was just like, oh, you've only been together a week. Like, yes, it's gonna be really different, and you're not gonna know everything. Why are you being so stupid?
Was there more character development in 365 days?
Yes, yeah. Mhm. I actually did think this halfway through as I was watching it. I was like, this could really do with a 365 days sex scene. Maybe a bit of boat action.
But like an old-timey sailboat.
That made it more exciting.
Something I think would have made the film work a little bit better for me to make me go, yeah, this was good, was the acting. I thought the Max, whatever his name is, something, I thought he was horrendous. He was terrible. And he, like, the story like this and the character like this, you want someone charismatic and charming and engaging. And I wouldn't even say he was that handsome, but that's all I can think is why he was hired, because he was handsome and everything else about him was terrible.
They easily could have picked someone better, though.
Is this some kind of joke?
It's true though, but it's like, it's not even just him that's that bad, and I have to disagree and say that half of the reason is because of the writing as well, because it's like going back to the stuff on the patio when he's just like, she's with me, it's so cliche, like, please, and it's so like just every other film. So yeah, I'd say, you know, partly down to bad acting, partly down to writing with everyone, because the actress that's I can't remember her name, the American actress that tries to do the English accent, which is the worst English accent that I've ever heard in my life, and slightly goes Irish for some point in some reason. And that's all I could think of for the first half of the film was, is she trying to be English? Is she trying to be Irish? Is she American? So I paused the film to figure out where she was from, and I was like, okay, so she is American. And then that was it. That's all I could think of every time that she came up. I was like, can she just not act?
She was god-awful.
Yeah.
A bit that I kind of found amazingly funny, and I don't think it was meant to be, was when they're like dating and driving around, and he's like, oh, please tell me how your family died. She tells him, and then she goes, tell me how your wife died, and he just goes, quiet, woman, and then leaves. And I just loved how he kept doing that. He would do something and then just be like, quiet, and then walk away. I just thought that was fucking hilarious. It's like, yeah, what a guy to love. Yeah.
Did nobody find his yellow suit a bit off-putting too? I was like, if you're trying to go for this tall, dark, handsome stranger look, why put him in a yellow suit? I was a bit like, ooh.
He looked like Saul Goodman most of the time.
Better Call Saul reference right there. Dig it up. You finally got one.
It's all good, man.
I feel like this film sort of found like this really, really small hole that I don't think was possible of getting a classic adaptation and remaking it modern, and then also trying to make it modern but keeping it old. And I feel I feel like they found this fine line of where it wasn't either modern or old, and it was I wish that it was either just old, make it classic, make it period, but then Lily James 100% look too modern for it to be period. And then if they're going to make it modern, at least sort of like bring it up to the 21st century a little bit and add some like maybe new tones into it. And they didn't. And it was just sort of a bad mash.
That's a really good point, and I think you've actually encapsulated something that I was trying to put my finger on but couldn't. Something that was bothering me about this film. And I think you've made it a bit clearer as to why this film feels like nothing to me. Like, just nothing. It doesn't have a tone or a feel. It's a common problem these days, though, I will admit. Films that don't feel like anything in particular. Like, you can go back and watch... I'm going to pull a really random example out. Most recent film I rewatched was Seven. From the first frame, it's got a solid tone set in concrete. Whereas this is like... nothing. Like, I don't know what the tone is. I don't know what the feel is. I don't know what they're going for.
I felt like there was a very small glimmer of hope when they were like, Rebecca enjoys pleasure and having sexual partners. And I was like, oh my God, are they going to open this up? So for once, for the first time ever...
Literally.
Are they going to open this up so that women enjoy sex too? And I thought, oh my God, is this going to be this big feminist moment I've been waiting for with this movie? And then it all sort of resulted down to just being like, oh no, but she's so crazy anyway. And I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I like the idea that someone having sex with a cousin is a big feminist moment for you.
She did sleep with more than just her cousin. It was just mainly her cousin. God.
Don't women just read the paper and have like a cigarette in one of those long plastic things during sex? And just look aloof.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, go Becky's point. Yeah, how did you take that, Holly? What Becky was saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree, but I didn't have as much hope for you as you did, Becky. I'm sorry. I kind of was like, okay, so they're either gonna go one or two ways. They're gonna say she was a huge slut, so she deserved to die, which they do with all films with women, or it's gonna be not enough on this, and they're just gonna draw over it really quickly and then run away, and that's what they did. So.
No, you're wrong. They did both. She's a huge slut, and then ran away.
They did sort of slut shame her a little bit, didn't they? They were like, oh, these men and your cousin, after just being like, oh, but a woman enjoys pleasure too. And I was like, oh.
Becky, you cannot defend the women enjoy pleasure in films when you follow it with her cousin. I'm not accepting that. You're not allowed to have that. You can't use that as a... No.
She's not allowed to enjoy it.
No.
Apparently not. She's a crazy lady.
She's a crazy ass bitch. You know what? Now that you've touched upon it, it's just kind of dawned on me. All the women on this were crazy, in a way. So Rebecca was a slut psychopath, really, the way she treated Max. The main girl, the new Madame de Winter, she was love crazy, and she went like way too far in like trying to redeem him. And then the housemaid just full on mental. She just burned the house down and died.
Granny was a crazy as well.
Granny.
Oh yeah, Granny.
Yeah.
I loved her.
You're like, oh no, put the Granny in the car, get rid of her.
I loved Granny. She should have been in it more.
Granny was the main character, I think.
Yeah.
Should have been.
Granny was the only one that could act as well.
I loved Granny. That was my favourite scene with Granny. Because I was dazed and confused. I didn't know what was going on. Neither did she. I was like, one of my people.
So yeah, would people say it was worth the price? Holly, what do you reckon? Was it worth that price?
No.
Fair enough. Becky?
No.
All right. And Lewis?
Not really. Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was worth that price at all. I would never watch this again. But it was fine. It was fine, just not for me. Well, that's our review of Rebecca. We hope you enjoyed this more than you probably did Rebecca. If you did enjoy it, please give us a like, share, and a subscribe. Leave a comment down below about your thoughts and feelings about this film if you have any difference to us or even the same. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Letterboxd. We tend to use that more than anything else, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank God that's over with.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't muster the energy to talk about that film.